All right, we're getting everybody in. Happy Friday, everybody.
So the parrot says to the nun, no, wait a minute. Sorry. People people aren't happy when they join and we're talking about something. And I always thought I'll just put a punchline
Oh, that
like,
sounds fantastic. We should
and
come
the
up
parrot said, what did the turkey say? No.
I think it sounds fantastic. We should come up with just random punchlines that start our conversation off and make people have to guess.
Yeah. And I can't read comments or questions, Melissa, so you'll have to
I will absolutely
jump
fill you
in.
in. Yeah, we got people joining us. They're coming in. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, Friday ahead of a holiday.
I know. Veterans Day. A lot of people are off today for the holiday, right? Or are they taking Monday off?
I think it would be today if they took it off at all.
Yeah.
Um, I went to the bank today, so banks are open.
Oh, well, that's good. I thought
Yeah,
today was a bank holiday too. I don't know. All right.
yeah.
Saxon
So
Pinto says, happy Friday. We got a floating holiday. All right.
floating holiday, floating holiday. I wonder if that's like an unpaid holiday. Um, yeah, I need to. There's creatures before we get started here too far.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see them or not.
Those Rob's got
What's up?
creature. Are
Yeah,
they
they're
ducks or geese?
those are ducks, which I hear are good eating. Um,
Ducks are actually.
sometime
I like a good.
sometime over a glass of wine, I'll tell you a duck story, which is why I've never eaten duck. Um, but anyway, why so Christmas early in Austin? Did you go to Costco and got swept up in the Costco? Because Costco, I think, already has Easter decorations up. But why the tree?
All right, so I'll tell everybody about the tree. It is obviously not Thanksgiving yet, and I have a Christmas tree up behind me for a very good reason. For those of you that don't know, TMC actually hosts a virtual conference every December that we call the 12 Days of TMC. And this year it starts November 30th and we go through December 15th. And would love to see everybody there and registered. We're doing something really fun this year that we are calling a solutions sprint. Maybe David can tell us all about sprints, but we're doing a solution sprint. And so we're taking big industry issues. We're putting people into working groups. We're having a fun competition to see who comes up with the best solutions for our industry. So I'm really, really excited about that. For those of you that would like to join, just shoot us a note after and we'll get you involved. David, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, you know all about sprints, don't you?
We do a few of them here.
Well,
Melissa,
yeah.
well, before you introduce everybody, Melissa, I have one question.
Okay, yes, sir.
When a neighbor around the holidays, and I have a very good opening line in Monday's commentary about the holidays, but when a neighbor brings over a plate of like holiday treats and it's a ceramic plate that you feel obligated to return, do you also like bake a batch of cookies and put plastic wrap over them when you return the plate, or you just like put it on their doorstep and hope they'll find it at some point?
100%. It's got to be full when it goes back. That's like Southernism 101, right?
Okay. I figured.
It's not full. It has to have a bottle of wine on it. Either one is acceptable, but you can't just give back the plate.
Okay. All right. Take it away.
All right. All right. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Happy Friday. I am Melissa Langdale. I'm the president and COO of the Mortgage Collaborative. Happy to see all of you here. As always, I am joined by Rob Chrisman. Wave to everybody, Rob. They know who you are. And this week we are joined by David at Capacity. David, you are the founder and CEO of Capacity, right?
They have other F words to call me when I'm not on webinars, but we'll stick with that for now.
Okay, that's perfect.
How many times have you used that line?
First, first time works every time.
All right, there you go.
All right. Well, why don't we start out the conversation with just learning a little bit about Capacity? Could you take maybe a minute and tell us, who are you? What do you guys do? And why is it so valuable? Because I think it is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so first of all, thank you all for being here. David Karandish, CEO and co-founder of Capacity. Capacity is a support automation platform that we have tuned and tweaked specifically for the mortgage space. We've been working within mortgage for the last 6 years around things like answering first-time home borrower questions on your website, helping navigate all the guidelines and overlays. We actually have a AI-driven guideline solution where you can ask a scenario in and it'll come back and say whether Fannie or Freddie will approve that, likely. We've got plugins for the major LOSs. So you could say, show me the Johnson loan, and we'll go ping Encompass and pull that back. And then we can also help with a lot of non-mortgage stuff that mortgage companies run into, whether that's onboarding and training, whether that's dealing with pesky IT support questions. We're one of the few AI vendors that works both internally for your team and externally for your borrowers. So yeah, customers use us for things like automating emails, automating their questions on their intranet, and then answering borrower questions on their website.
That's great. Well, obviously, AI can be a fantastic tool for operational efficiency, both kind of, internally facing, but also there's some external applications for it as well. So, as lenders are starting to think about, leveraging AI in their space, where do they start? Like, where do you suggest people start? Is it areas that can help them with file quality? Is it kind of customer experience? Is it operational efficiency? Like, how do they choose where to start, and what would you suggest?
Yeah, so we like to say start where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. So in some organizations, they're like, we run a really tight ship internally, but our website's a mess. And we're like, come in and help me with that. Other organizations we work with, they're like, the website is locked down. You need to go spend a lot of Southern hospitality with the marketing team to change any pixel there. But man, our internal operations are a nightmare. So I would say we just kind of customize it to where your needs are. And then you can spider out. So start in the area that's going to have the biggest impact. A lot of times we see guideline scenario questions, website related questions, and just your general internal FAQs are a couple good places to start.
That's great.
Did you use the term spread out or spider out?
Spider out.
Excellent. I gotta figure out how to work that into my repertoire. So I heard, I'm just gonna be blunt, Dave, because that's who I am. I was speaking to somebody who'd gone to an AI presentation at a conference of AI folks, and the question kept coming up from lenders: how can I use this? What good is it to me? How do I incorporate this? How do I explain what AI is to my staff, and how do I explain how we're going to use this? So how do you answer questions like that? Just really basic. We've got Melissa and Rob's mortgage, and we've got a little website, and we're closing like 10 million a month. I mean, how can I use AI to its full potential?
Yeah. So first thing I like to do is like start with what is AI? Because a lot of people have a lot of ideas. Some people think of AI, they think of the Terminator movies. Some people think of ChatGPT only. Some people think it's going to be able to solve all of their problems instantly. So I like to try to just kind of level set on what are we talking about here. So I like the distinction between automation, AI, and generative AI. think of automation as software that operates without human intervention. It's a proxy for outsourced manual labor. So instead of having to log into these 5 websites, an automation is going to go do that. Instead of updating this form, an automation is going to do that. I think of AI as simply software that learns and applies patterns. So like my kid has a little worksheet, he's 6, but it'd be like star, star, triangle, star, star, triangle, star, star, what comes next? All AI is, and the simplest way to think about it, is pattern recognition, learning and applying patterns and figuring out what to do with that. So I view AI as really a proxy for outsourced cognitive labor, wherever you need to make a decision. And then lastly, generative AI is software that's going to go create new content based on the existing data. So like, for example, we use this kind of tech for, I want to write up a director of marketing job description. I don't want to start from scratch. I want to start from a template and then kind of work from there. It's a proxy for outsourced creative labor. So if you have those kind of 3 big definitions, automation for manual labor, AI for cognitive labor decisions, generative AI for creative labor, then you can just start to say, okay, well, let's go apply this. We can apply this in really simple ways, like we're going to put a bot on the website and it's going to answer questions from borrowers and generate leads. We can start it with, hey, when we bring on a new LO and they get trained, they have 50,000 questions, but those 50,000 questions are the same for every single LO we bring on. Let's go put those into an internal AI so they don't have to feel silly when they don't know how to log into something on Simple Nexus or something like that. So these are like easy entry points to go get started. Ultimately, the goal is not that we're going to have a people-less interaction. I really don't believe that. The idea is to get people doing what people do well, the exception handling, not the repetitive stuff. It's okay to answer a question once. It's not okay to answer a question twice. It's okay to have new information you got to go explore. It's not okay to do the same thing for the 17th time that week. That's what we're really trying to do to bring to our companies from an AI perspective.
So yesterday, I'll give you a real life example. If I think I understand what you're saying. Yesterday, Constant Contact, which is one of the ways I send my commentary out, had some kind of glitch. And all of a sudden I was receiving emails and phone calls from friends and people I know in the industry. Hey, Rob, why are you sending out like November 6th commentary, November 8th commentary? I don't know, whatever. It was like, it was odd.
They thought you went to the future, right? They thought you went into the future, right?
So David, today is November 10th.
Oh, okay. Sorry, in the past. Okay.
Don't worry about it. Who's next week's guest anyway, Melissa? No, anyway. So David, so I call Constant Contact because there's an actual number that I call, and I tell them my name, and they say, oh, would you like to start a text dialogue with our support staff? And of course, being a Luddite, I say no. But is that text chat that sometimes companies will offer up, whether I'm talking to Wells Fargo or Constant Contact or American Airlines, is that AI at work?
Yeah, so many cases, and this is kind of the paradigm we see. You let the AI be the level 0 support, where it starts the conversation, it answers the basic stuff, and then if you can't get what you need resolved, you intelligently escalate that up to level 1. So the idea is that you don't have level 1 resources dealing with level 0 problems, or even worse, level 2 resources dealing with level 0 problems. So it's all about making sure that you've efficiently and effectively set up your staff. So if you have a quick and simple question that needs to get answered, you can get it answered without having to wait on hold and listen to the cheesy elevator music on the other end. Conversely, if you do need to escalate up, that human agent should have all the context of the background of what you've already put in, so they don't have to go ask you the 20 questions game around what your problem is, what's going on. They can say, oh, hey, Mr. Chrisman, I see from what you were saying, you were having this particular issue. Let's go check it out.
Okay. So from a loan servicer's perspective, I can certainly see where that comes in handy. If you're, well, Mr. Cooper's a bad example given the data breach, but let's say you're a large servicer, and dealing with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of borrowers, and you're servicing their loans, and they have mundane questions like, hey, if I send it here, I mean, I don't know what services ask, but is that a good
Perfect use case. Perfect use case.
okay. All right. And does Capacity work with servicers as well as lenders?
Yeah, we do servicers and lenders, both ends. Yep. So like Planet Home Lending, for example, uses us for their servicing.
All right. Go ahead, Melissa.
I've been
No,
waiting.
that was David. I mean, that was a great explanation. So thank you.
Welcome.
So David, one of the things that, is always a big question mark, particularly around generative AI is, is it always going to give you the right answer? There's all these comments about hallucinations and it coming to the wrong kind of conclusion as we start to think about leveraging AI in the mortgage space and in the housing arena, right? There's all sorts of initiatives right now to kind of improve racial equity, maybe trying to leverage technology to take away some of the bias. But in that generative AI kind of space, we actually might have some of that based on the data that's in that kind of large language model that's behind that generative AI. So how are you thinking about that? How does the industry need to kind of prepare for what that looks like in the future?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm going to give you both sides of the coin, how it can hurt and how it can help. If you, so my mom is red-blooded, white American, red-blooded American. My dad was born in Iran. So if there was an AI algorithm that said, "Oh, you're from Persian descent, maybe he's more likely to be a terrorist," right? That's going to cause some problemos down the road if you start bucketing people based on characteristics that are not going to be predictive and on a population basis, right? Conversely, one of the highest compliments I've gotten from any customer in my entire 7 years at this, as I had an LO come to me and he said, "David, the reason I became a believer in Capacity is I had a borrower who was having a hard time getting a loan, getting a particular loan. And because when we asked internally, they didn't think they could get it funded. We asked Capacity went through the guidelines. We ended up finding a certain scenario where this ended up working. And that borrower is a homeowner today because of Capacity that would not have been without." And so when you think about in particular, the racial gap in home ownership, I think this kind of technology provides a powerful opportunity to actually level the playing field in terms of helping people who may either be disenfranchised or are first-time home buyer in their family of origin, or maybe have some more creative work experience to go get a loan that they might not be able to. As long as the data set is being trained on data that does not introduce unnecessary bias, then you're going to be in good shape. Now, you still have the problem of, okay, David, bias or not, maybe you're not building a model to discriminate against 6'2" half Persians who are in the tech industry. But what happens if it just gets the answer wrong, or how do we trust the answer? So there's two ways that we've thought about this. The first is we want to do source citations. So if we have Gen AI pull an answer back, we're actually going to tell you where we got the answer from. Oh, this came from page 25 on this guideline. So when you're trying to think about where did this come from, it didn't come out of the ether. And then the second one that we've added, I think we're the first to do this, is we've actually added social proof into the bot. So when I see a response that comes back from a bot internally, I can actually see who else liked that response internally within the org. So if I see an answer that comes back, I can say, oh, I don't have to guess if it has any kind of credibility. I can see that Tim and Crystal and Marcus all like that particular response.
That's great. David, by the way, we do have one request for you to repeat the three purposes of AI or the three layers, right? Like automation, AI, and generative AI. Can you walk through that one more?
Yeah, so I will walk through that again. I'm also happy. Ping me, David at capacity.com. I've got a little deck that walks through it too. You can share it around. But basic idea is you think of it in three buckets. You've got automation. Automation is software that runs without human intervention, right? So example is like logging into a website without having to have a person do that. That exists. So the why, so what, is for outsourcing manual labor to tech. That's what we've been doing with technology automation, for as long as we've been at it. The second bucket of AI is software that learns and applies patterns. So in my world, we use AI to classify emails, categorize what email comes in, so we know what to do with it. Right? So that's it for outsourcing some kind of cognitive labor or some kind of decision you need to make. And then the third bucket is generative AI, which is software that creates new content based on existing data. And that's really a proxy for outsourced creative labor. So you want to have it draft an article or maybe translate a document from English to Spanish. You're creating new content based on some existing data. That's when Gen AI is going to do real well.
So the light bulb went off. Can individuals use AI, for example, to, like, if I wanted to sort emails, because I get, as you might imagine, a handful of emails every day. Could I, as an individual, use AI somehow to sort emails and direct them and answer some and so on?
Oh, I mean, right now we have a plugin for Outlook where if you send me an email, the AI will scan the email, check the knowledge base, see if the knowledge base has the answer. If it does, you can one click add it right to that email and be done. And so the idea of being able to both categorize the email and then automatically start to provide drafts and responses, I will make a prediction that over the next few years, people will not start with a blank email response. They will be starting from an AI response and then editing it.
Well, that's a pain in the butt, David. First of all, I like the email idea. I could see using that. In terms of, like, sometimes I'll go into my personal email account and I'll start to type something, and then it fills in whatever it thinks I'm going to say, which is usually isn't. So then I have to keep typing. I don't know. It's bothersome. I'm sounding like a real Luddite, which I am. Going back to, having a knowledge base as a base to start, that would require, like, me to have a knowledge base, I guess, to set up a knowledge base, to have knowledge in order to deal with these emails and create some kind of AI response to the emails. But I think that's very interesting. I once again appreciate your answer. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually everyone's going to have a personal knowledge base too. So that's we can thumb wrestle over that offline. But I'm pretty sure that we will get to the point where everyone has a personal knowledge base around the questions that people ask them. There will be a corporate one, and there'll probably be a department one. And so as you are working with an AI to help you automate your day, that knowledge base is growing based on your preferences, your interests, the things that you do, the responses you make, from the big important work decisions down to Tuesday is Indian lunch day here. I like the chicken biryani. Like, eventually you will get to that point to where your own personal knowledge base is tracking all that stuff, and the AI is helping to make decisions on top.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, when you're a sole proprietor, the potluck lunches tend to get old quickly. You guys see these equines?
They're beautiful horses.
One's they're both pregnant, I believe, but I mean, I've told a number of people that hundreds of, David, for your information, hundreds of mortgage bankers are killed every month by horses. So you just have to, if they lunge, let me know if they come over the fence behind you, because I'm focused right here.
We'll keep you safe. I promise. It'll be
I
fine.
thought
Okay.
the self-driving Teslas were going to be a problem. I did not think about horse-related deaths.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hundreds every month.
Hundreds every month. Okay. Can I get us back to mortgage?
Yes.
Is that okay? Okay. So, the CFPB just had an announcement over the last week or so talking about kind of their want and desire to regulate kind of digital wallet, platforms and kind of more fintech related payment processing platforms at the same time too. So, as you start to think about the evolution of AI, right, as our mortgage industry and financial industry as a whole starts to leverage more and more of it, do you see regulation coming? I think I'm probably going to throw you a giant softball on this one, but what's next? Like how do we prepare for what might be coming?
Yeah. So I'll go back to something I said earlier. I think it's going to come down to what data sources we're using to drive these decisions. So for example, I'll wade into something a little controversial. We started working on a resume screening tool where you can load up 100 resumes. The goal is not to tell you who to hire. We're not going to be able to do that. But what we will do is we'll say, okay, of these 100 resumes, based on the information that we see, here are the first 10 people you should call for this particular position. Now, I'll give you an example where that might run afoul. Is if you had, for example, as part of that algorithm, these colleges are ones that tend to produce great people and these ones are not, you might end up excluding a great candidate from an HBCU, right? So you don't want to do things like that. At the same time, though, I think that we're entering a world where the idea of scanning through and reading and picking out needles in a haystack, you're actually going to have a better ability to defend that over time. If you have, hey, here's the algorithm, here's what we did, here's how this picked and made these decisions, that's going to make a much bigger impact on a compliance standpoint than you would the other way around. When I think about what regulations are needed and what regulations would be onerous, I think, maybe I pose the question, did we do a good job regulating the internet or not? I would say overall, I think it was the right call, right? I think the level of regulation on the internet overall was well thought out. When I think about the regulation on social media, was that really did we get that one right? Probably not. I think we probably missed the mark on that area. So when I think about how much regulation or what the regulations are going to look like within AI, I think it's going to come down to a different level of scrutiny of what type of decision the AI is making. If the AI is coming back and saying, here's the answer to our PTO policy, that's very different from let's approve this person and let's not approve this person.
I think that's where the challenges end up being in our industry, right? At what level are we relying on technology to make credit decisions that could impact the quality of the loans that we're delivering to Fannie or Freddie? In the long run, I think that's going to be the piece that I see us having a lot of eyes on and needing to have a lot of eyes on.
Yeah.
All right, Rob.
Yes, but
yeah, go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, now, one of the things that's really interesting about AI, though, is unlike the real world, it's hard to run split tests on people's actual mortgages.
Yep.
But it's actually pretty easy to take scenarios and throw them at the AI and see how they do. So instead of saying, hey, we're going to roll this algorithm out or this AI out and have no idea how it performs, I think the best companies are going to come in and say, hey, we went through and here's all of our tests and here are the scenarios that we ran and we put it through 10,000 mock loans or 100,000 mock loans and here's the decisions it came back with. now decide what you want to go do. So I think those are some of the ways that companies are going to work within the bounds of what is legal and ethical, and at the same time, not run afoul of where we're heading from a regulatory standpoint.
Well, we only have a few more minutes. So Rob, do you want to do our last question?
Well, I was going to talk about the cost of doing loans. One of my favorite questions is, the cost continues to increase. And one would think that the cost, especially of servicing, I would imagine, I've never actually seen a statistic about the cost to service, but maybe the cost of servicing loans has come down through companies, large servicers using AI to deal with the level 0 questions, David, as you put it. Do you know what's going on there? Has the cost of servicing come down?
So I haven't seen a broad scale study of it. I would love to see. Maybe we'd be happy to sponsor one of those. But I can say anecdotally, the answer is definitely yes. Like, we are seeing servicers who are like, I don't need to throw as many bodies at this problem, or I can redeploy the bodies I have toward higher order things than answering the same question for the 17th time this week.
Yeah.
So are we out of time? I can't see my screen.
We are.
We are?
All
right.
We do have a question in the chat that I want to make sure we touch on. So Bob says, for AI to work in the underwriting function, will it need to draw data from the production channel and from the servicing channel to evaluate the quality of the loan? It's an interesting question. I think it depends on what, I guess, the purpose of the loan is. And David, you tell me if you feel differently. But I think it would depend on the purpose of the loan, whether it's a purchase or refinance or.
Yeah, I think that's true. I would also say the more relevant data, the better. But just giving extra data does not necessarily make the AI better if the data is not relevant to the decision.
All right.
That makes sense.
Makes a ton of sense. All right. Well, we're up at time. We appreciate everybody joining us. David, thank you so much for joining us as well. Appreciate your insights as always. And Rob is about to get attacked by a horse.
This thing is, you can just see it. I could see it glaring at me during our show. I could.
Yeah, he's looking to make friends.
A real way to end the webinar with a good mauling at the end.
That's right. Tony says Rob is horsing around. Boom.
Cutting edge wit, I tell you.
All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you all for joining us.
Appreciate it.
We look forward to seeing you again next week.
Take care.
Thank you.